Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Masroor Barzani. He is the Prime Minister of the Kurdistan region of Iraq. He joins us via satellite from Erbil. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
On February 15th, a rocket attack hit the U.S. airbase and other areas of Erbil, killing 2, wounding a dozen. You've just finished a preliminary investigation into the attack. Who is behind it, Mr. Prime Minister?
As you mentioned, there was an attack on Erbil and some districts of the city of Erbil and the airport, obviously, which resulted in killing 2 people, 1 contractor at the airport, and there was another civilian outside in the city, and 7 more wounded. Investigations started immediately after the attack. There has been some good indications of who may be behind it, but because this investigation is still ongoing, I would prefer to wait for the investigation to reveal the results when the work is done. It's an unfinished work until now, but it was definitely a terrorist attack to destabilize the region of Kurdistan region. And we are hoping that soon this information will be available, but we are waiting for the results of the investigation.
The attack was claimed by a little-known group calling itself Guardians of the Blood Brigade. Is it credible, or is it one of the established so-called popular mobilization forces, the paramilitary units, known to be backed by Iran?
There were many statements. Immediately after that, some people claimed the responsibility, but we cannot count on any of those claims. We have to wait for the results of the investigation to identify the perpetrators. And like I said, there has been great achievements, good progress, but I would rather wait until the investigation team makes their announcement public.
What has been done is U.S. military retaliation. That's what the U.S. government said on the attack, as well as 2 other attacks against U.S. interests in Iraq. They bombed targets in eastern Syria, just across the border from Iraq, hitting 2 groups belonging to the popular military mobilization units, Kataib Hezbollah, Kataib Said al-Shuhada, and the U.S. Defense Secretary said, "We are confident that the target was used by the same Shia militia that conducted the strikes in Erbil and other places." So it seems the U.S. has decided that those were the groups. Do you agree with that?
Well, the U.S. obviously has conducted this operation on credible evidence. But as far as I can condemn any particular group, I would rather wait until the investigation is done and all the perpetrators are in custody, and then I think it would be a better time to reveal the information about who is behind it, and the name of the group that has conducted this terrorist attack will be revealed to the public immediately after that. So.
But do you approve the U.S.
really
attack?
Now name any particular group now.
Do you approve Do you approve the U.S. operation?
We support any effort to stop destabilization of Iraq and especially Kurdistan region.
Do you consider that those popular mobilization units in general, they're supposedly under the government umbrella? Do you think that they are a threat to the stability of your region and of Iraq because they're not really under control?
I cannot make a general statement about the popular mobilization forces. There are different elements within the PMF. And we hope that the Iraqi government, the legal institutions of the Iraqi government would be able to bring everybody under the control of the legal system.
Right. Are you concerned that the lack of security between your region and Baghdad, especially in the so-called disputed areas, is fueling a comeback of ISIS. We've seen a number of senior Kurdistan officials saying, be careful, they're coming back even stronger than before.
ISIS still remains to be a main threat to the security of Kurdistan region, the rest of Iraq, and the world. They have lost territories. We thank the coalition forces and all the allies. We are very proud of the fight that our Peshmergas have done against ISIS, that they were defeated at the time. They lost territories, but it's an unfinished business. ISIS is still out there. They are reorganizing as we speak. They have managed to recruit more people and to even conduct operations against the Iraqi security forces, in some cases even against civilians. So ISIS still remains to be a main problem. As you mentioned, there is an area which is called the disputed territories where there is a vacuum of security because of the issues that are still unsolved in that area. We have made proposals to the federal government of Iraq. We've had numerous meetings with the officials to close that gap by bringing legitimate and legal forces to those areas, including from the federal government and from Kurdistan region, to close that gap and to deny ISIS access to those regions which they have been operating from now. But their operation is not limited to those areas. They are also operating in some other areas in other provinces. So they remain to be a main problem, and that requires a much closer cooperation amongst all the friends and allies.
Right. Do you think that because of the pandemic and so on, there's been a lack of attention to the resurgence of ISIS?
Well, pandemic has definitely had an impact on everything, almost. But fighting terrorism should not be deterred by any of these problems that we may face, and some of these challenges may never slow us down in trying to contain the threat of terrorism.
I want to get to a recent major military operation from Turkey against the PKK in your region. Do you fear that, as President Erdogan said, that Turkey could decide that in order to fight the PKK, it could establish a kind of safe zone like it has done in Syria? Would this be acceptable to you?
Well, first of all, this is not our problem. This is a problem inside Turkey that, unfortunately, over the years has been exported to our region. We believe that fighting is not going to end this ongoing problem forever. PKK, unfortunately, has taken advantage of the goodwill of the KRG authorities. But unfortunately, they have occupied mountains and even residential areas. As a result of their presence, we have not been able to reconstruct 800 of our villages. Sometimes farmers are denied access to their land, and many times they are even being deported from their villages. So we hope that this will not escalate. We hope that PKK will realize that their military presence in this area is not going to serve anyone. Definitely, this is not going to be tolerated by us, and we don't think that it's going to help in the long run. Of course, we do not support any sort of destabilization of the security of the neighboring countries. So we hope that at the end there is going to be a resolution where this problem eventually will leave our areas.
But would you accept a Turkish military presence like we've seen in Syria, for instance? Would this be acceptable to you, or are you saying, no, this is our land, it's an imported problem, but this remains our land and this is our sovereignty?
We definitely support the sovereignty of our country. And nobody wants to have the presence of any militaries, but there has to be no justification whatsoever for the intervention of the Turkish forces, which at this time PKK is giving them that justification.
Right. In a few days, the Pope will pay the first ever visit by a Pope to Iraq, and he will also come to Erbil. We've talked about the attack at the onset of this interview. Are you concerned about potential security threats during that visit? Are you planning specific measures?
This will be definitely a historic visit for His Holiness to Kurdistan region and also to Iraq. We believe that this is going to shed light on the efforts that the KRG has done over the years for tolerance and acceptance of religious groups and minorities that live in Kurdistan for many, many years. We are doing everything we possibly can to make sure that his visit is going to be safe, so we are taking all the precautionary measures to provide maximum security for His Holiness's visit to our region. Just over a year ago, I had the privilege to visit His Holiness in Vatican, and we talked about the importance of tolerance and coexistence in Kurdistan. We also talked about the burden of the social and economic burden of the IDPs and refugees that reside in Kurdistan for many years now. So we definitely hope that his visit is going to bring much more international attention to what's going on in this region. And also we are looking forward to much more support from the international community to help us with promoting these ideas and principles of religious freedom and freedom of worship.
Masroor Barzani, I want to thank you very much for being with us on the France 24 interview for Erbil, and thank you very much for watching it.